Today, it's going to be Hotwire, Stimulus, Rails, of course, and answering a viewer's question. Stick around. Hey guys, Phil here again with another Ruby on Rails tutorial. Maybe, I don't know if it's complete enough to call it a tutorial, but we'll see how it goes. And how this started is a couple of weeks ago, somebody, I should have the message up here so I could say who, but somebody asked me a question on YouTube about how to show duration. They wanted to do something where they were timing, like a start-stop timer, and then they wanted to add up those start-stop timers to say this is how long it took. So I thought, oh, that's an interesting little challenge, and I'm not going to completely, I'm sorry to you, I'm not going to completely do it for you, but I should be able to give you a good idea about how to do it. But in the meantime, I'm also going to do a Hotwire Stimulus app from scratch to show you, to show this duration thing. My inspiration for this was twofold. One was Toggle Track, which is a cool little timing app, online timing thing that I use to track my time when I'm billing for clients. And the other was, 25 years ago I was working in Belgium, and we didn't have a lot to do, so I sat around and I wrote this small application called the Contractometer. That became quite popular with contractors in the company and quite unpopular with management, because it would sit in the corner and would tell you how much money you made every minute. So I'm going to do like a new version of that. So enough of the waffling. Let's get on with it. Let's go into my development testing. Hopefully you can see all this. I think I've got my screen. I've got a different recording set up today because I don't know what's going on. I couldn't get OBS to work. It was using 160% of my processor. And later today I'm going to be upgrading my Mac OS, so if you don't hear from me for a while, you know that didn't go too well. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got here. I'm running Ruby 2.7 and Rails, what do we got? To 6.1.4, which I think is the latest 6. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Hard to tell. One of the other reasons I'm doing this is that, I did that Hotwire tutorial a couple of months ago, not that long ago, like 4 or 5 months ago. Most of that stuff doesn't seem to work anymore. They've changed things. So I'm doing this one as a new Hotwire Stimulus tutorial. Oh my god, I'm talking a lot today, sorry. The coffee's kicked in. Let's create a new contractometer. Good name for it, I think. Let's use Postgres. I assume that Postgres is running. And we don't need no stinking tests. And we don't need to run bundler right away because I'm just going to add some stuff immediately anyway. And we certainly don't need turbo links. Why is this still even the default in Rails 6? Let's let it rip. There we go. And it's warning us that we have to run Webpacker install and all of that by ourselves. We'll do that in a bit. Give me a minute. I'm getting there. So we can use my favorite command, which is bundle add turbo rails. And so that will chuck a gem turbo rails at the bottom and run bundler for us. And we can also, I think now would be a good time to run Webpacker install, just so that the thing knows that it has Webpacker. This might take a minute. It goes off and does all the stuff that whatever it is that Webpacker install does. Check some yarn dependencies and things like that. Installs a bunch of other stuff that gives you tons of warnings because it's not updated properly. All that good stuff. Hot day here in Japan. even inside now with the aircon, 28 degrees here. Okay, so we've run that. Let's run turbo install. Now this is, I have a bit of a beef with the guys over there at Hotwire. So we have Turbo Rails, which has pretty much zero documentation. It does all the stuff to install Turbo for you in a Rails app and to let you use it, including running Yarn and running Hotwired Turbo Rails in the Yarn and everything like that. It also sets up a cable that uses Redis by default, so you have to have Redis running. Maybe we can take a look. It doesn't matter. You have to have Redis and Postgres obviously running for this to work. So we've got Turbo or Hotwire. So now what do you call it? I don't understand now if you call it Turbo or you call it Hotwire. I don't know what Hotwire is and I don't know what Turbo is. So let's add Stimulus Rails, which will chuck some stuff in once we run Rails Stimulus install. Be nice if they just had one thing, because probably you're going to use them together. Maybe not always. So Stimulus install will generate a couple, some directories, some dummy controllers, and things like that. If you don't know what Stimulus is, and you don't know what Rails is, there's some other videos. Maybe if I'm not too lazy, I'll put links to them wherever links go. I can't remember. I don't even know if you can see me because the way I'm going to do the screenshot, but I might do the links. Okay, so let's open this thing up and see what happens. There it is. So we got our thing. Let's take a look at package here. So we've got Turbo Rails and Stimulus is in there, and we've got all the stuff for Stimulus, controllers, all that other stuff is in there, nice and good. And this will actually run, but we don't need to run it right now. And let's do my thing. I really hate the way it looks out of the box. So let's add Bootstrap. Now, this is going to be Bootstrap 5. And, of course, you have to add jQuery. We'll never get away from jQuery, people. I don't know who you're kidding. And we need, because it's Bootstrap 5, we need to add, not Popper.js, you need to add this at Popper.js/core. This will get all the goodies for Bootstrap. And we can see there's Popper.js, there's Bootstrap. Fine. Let's open the application.js here and do the things that we need for Bootstrap, which is import Bootstrap. And you can see that it's imported the Hotwired Turbo Rails there for you and imported the controllers already for you. And we're going to import a file that's not there yet. Style sheets application. And we're going to create style sheets / application.scss. And in here, we will import. This is just to get all the Bootstrap stuff in. Now, because I'm typing this, I'm probably going to make a mistake and nothing will work, right? Bootstrap /scss /bootstrap. This one you do use a semicolon. That should work, he says without much confidence. And while we're here, let's take a look at the app layout. And yeah, let's do that. Div, class, container, just so we give a nice bit of padding around everything that we're going to do. Okay, I think we are all set up. How's that? 10 minutes in or so. What else? Oh, I'm going to add this. I've got this little snippet of code. I have a love-hate relationship with VS Code. Workspace. Isn't it crazy that you have to do it like this? Ugh. Format it. I'm going to add in Emmet into the VSCode thing settings, because we'll show you. Like, so here, remember how I typed that out? But now with Emmet, you can just do div, and you see it says Emmet abbreviation there, and I can just bing, and it'll do a tag and put the cursor in the middle. I find it quite handy to use this Emmet stuff. So Emmet's in there, and let's also add, I know some people don't like it, but I like it. We'll add Rubocop in there in run bundle. Rubocop, if you don't know what that is a kind of Ruby syntax checker and things like that. So that's all installed and running. So we are up and running. So let's put a bookmark. Drink more coffee. I think I'm drinking a lot of coffee today. You know, so so yesterday I did this video, and I got about 3/4 of the way through and nothing was working, and then I had to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out that Hotwire or Turbo had changed and the way you installed it and everything. So I figured all that out last night, and here we are, version 2 or version 3 of the video. Hardware problems, whole shebang. That's why I'm drinking a lot of coffee. All right, let's clear this thing out, and let's create our application. So I'm going to use a scaffold. You know, somebody sent a message, now I don't know if it was a complaint or whatever, or observation, that I use scaffold. And it's like, why are you using scaffold? Why aren't you doing everything by hand? It's like, you know, why are you using power steering in your car? You know, same reason. Makes things a little bit easier. We don't use it all the time when we're going straight, but when you turn in corners, it's nice to have power steering. So I'm going to use a scaffold. Excuse me. And we're going to create an object called time tracker, which needs to have a topic, which will be a string, rate per hour, which will be a numeric, which is a float type thing. We need a start it at, which will be a date time, and end it at, which will be a date time, and a status, which will be a string. That's all I'm going to do. If, you know, I'm going to put this stuff up on GitHub as usual, and if you want to fork it and make a commercial product out of it, like Toggle Track, here's what I would recommend doing. What I'm not going to do today. While I'm talking, let's run that. You need to you should have projects. That's so easy to do. I could do that, but I don't see the need for doing it. So you'd have your time trackers associated with projects, and then you would sum up that duration on a project actually, and then you would do some niceties about months and days and years and so on. And of course you would have users, so you'd use devise and things like that. Maybe I could do a second video, because I'm not going to have time to do that because of all this talking like I'm doing right now. But I could do a second video which added in those things maybe on. But it's just I'm going to show you the nuts and bolts of getting Stimulus and Hotwire running. That's what I think everybody wants to know. They don't care about me writing an app. All right, so we've done that. Now, experience tells me, let's go over, and we don't want a topic to be nullable. It's fine that you don't have a rate per hour. We don't want something that doesn't have a started at. Perhaps you won't have an ended at because something will be running, and if you have to have a status. So I'm going to put those things in there. We might put validations in. I might not bother to do that. Just let database error out for me. But in this demo. So let's Rails db create and db migrate. And you can do all that on one line. You don't need to ampersand shell script commands together. And it should with any luck, work. Holy cow. There we are. So we're all in. And we can go and look at our schema if we want, which has one table. We can see everything's fine. It's a decimal. And I think decimal relates, if I say numeric, depending on the database, it'll have a different type. I think that's the deal there. And we're almost ready to run it. Roots. And let's go in there and add the root of time trackers index. Bada bing. Let's run this thing. Let's leave this shell there. Let's create a new shell, Rails S. I won't do anything fancy with that. One day I'll do a video about ngrok. I love ngrok. So here we are. And you should just see this standard Rails. You can see it's compiling Webpacker over here. And yeah, we can see the standard Rails index page. We take an inspect just to make sure the Bootstrap is working. Indeed it is. This is Bootstrap 5, right? I don't know how you tell. Okay. So we're all good to go. That's the standard Rails, and you can see the standard Rails forms and all that. Again, this is a bog standard Rails application. We don't care about that so much. What we do care about, okay, let's start with getting rid of this index. Index, we don't need you at all. What we do need is pretty standard. Okay, I'm going to have a form. If you've ever seen Toggle Track, I'm ripping off Toggle Track pretty much exactly. Let's take the form, put that in the index, and the form. Okay, well, let's just show you what we got. So we won't have one of these. If we run this, we'll get an error because we don't have a time tracker. So let's go to the controller, and in the index, we'll make a time tracker. Keep track, no pun intended, keep track of how many things I'm going to change it. It's only like 5 lines in the controller you need to change to get all this working with Hotwire. So there we are. This is the form that's being generated from the form. It's not the greatest form in the world. So let's change that first. So form with model time tracker, that's fine. We could leave those errors, but I'm going to take those out because if we got errors, what are we going to get errors for? And let's do this because what I want is a little form across the top. So use the Emmet thing that I installed. We're going to do a class of row and class, let's do 9 with column. Remember, Bootstrap has 12. So we're going to do that, and we will do the text field topic. And for me, okay, well, we need that form control class, and I like to have a placeholder. I love placeholders. Saves you having to do labels. Placeholder, what are you working on? Okay, so you can go. And the rate per hour, we just need 1. I'm not going to do anything, but I will, of course, do the form control. We don't need the labels. And we don't need to start it at. We don't need to end it at. We don't need the status. And we're not going to do this. let me show you what I do. So this wouldn't be so bad. If we save this, format it, we can see now if we go over here and look across the top, we'd have that nice form. Almost not bad, eh? Ooh, he's fast, you say. That's because I've done this so many times. I would say let's do a margin Y. So margins on both sides would be in margin X, margin on top and bottom be in margin Y of 2. Let's just give it some space. I love my spaces. And then the form submit. I'm not a big fan of honking big buttons. I much prefer icons. And I don't mean Russian icons. I mean text icons. So the way we do that, or the way I do it, is by using Font Awesome. I love Font Awesome. I pay for it, incredibly. And anyone who knows me knows how cheap I am. I do pay for it. And I'm not going to use the paid version here. I'm going to use the free version, which is free to you. I don't know if I can do an affiliate link for Font Awesome. Maybe I could put one down. So anyway, yarn, add. Oh, this drives me crazy. Fort Awesome. I don't know if they're being clever or it was a typo or what the deal is. But anyway, Fort Awesome, Font Awesome, free. And that will add the yarn in, hopefully. And then we can simply go to our app.js, I think. And let's import our, there it is, Fort Awesome, free, CSS, all. That means we can use all the Font Awesome, Fort Awesome, Font Awesome icons. And then we can't do that, of course, using a submit. Because a submit, you can put, nice, you can put text there. Oh, it's got to compile. Sorry. So you can put text there, but you can't put HTML. You know, there's nothing you can do to put HTML in there. If you do it like that, it'll say be nice. If you do HTML safe, it doesn't work. You cannot put HTML in there. So you can't use form submit. What I use instead is form button. Now button's not perfect because of the way it looks, but for this it will be okay. And we just make it of a type of submit, do, end, and then in the middle we can have an icon. And let's go over Font Awesome. Let's use a play icon. And what do we got? There's this one. This one will do. This is the only one that works in free, I think, anyway. So now, if we refresh, you see instead of this, booyah, got a little icon as our submit button. Pretty good. There we go. The form's there. If you want a little proof, let's zero that out. I'm working on something nice. You can see how many times I've tried this. My rate is $5 an hour. I'm quite reasonable. Or maybe it's 5 Bitcoins an hour. I don't know. And you can see it failed. First of all, because started at is null. And we know that the status and the things, and you're saying, Phil, but where's the status? Where's the things that you said couldn't be null? So let's take a look at the controller. When we create something, we know we're going to create it. Let's do it like this. Let's say the started at we're going to create a hash here with those default values and a status of running, and then we're going to merge those with the actual params that are coming. Hopefully you can see that. A little formatting here. All right, so I've created the hash, a hash with that, and merge those into the time track params. Now, when we go back, let's go back here to our, oops, come on, let's do that. And if we say something nice, 5 Bitcoins an hour, let's take a look at our form. And there we go. It was created. This is the standard show because we haven't changed any of that stuff yet. We can see that our tracker was created. Now, the other thing we want to do on this index page, now that we've got that working, is let's go over and simply render. I think I deleted that. I could have kept it. Render. Oh, you're too clever. Render. You just need to render time trackers, right? Now this, I think I've talked about this before. Kind of little auto magic that will go through, iterate over this collection, and then call a partial. Which has the same name as the object, and render that out. So that's not going to work because we don't have the partial. So let's create the partial. Time tracker, HTML ERV. And we've already done the form. So let's grab the form here. Let's dump the form in. And instead of using the form, we'll just use time tracker, topic, and time tracker rate per hour. And instead of the time tracker duration, we'll get to that in 1 second, don't worry. And we're going to leave this column blank for now. I'll just put the status in there. So again, this won't work. We know it won't work, so I'm going to just comment that out. So it's calling that partial, and there we go. I'm going to change that form now that I think about it, to move that button over. There we go. And let's put a horizontal line in there. Holy cow. Give some space. Okay, it's running. Now, this all started with somebody asking how to do duration. So we don't, of course, keep the duration in the object. There's no point to do that. What we will do is calculate that duration. So let's go to the time tracker object and actually do something inside of here and fix this stupid thing. And okay, so we want to create something called duration, and it's pretty simple. We can do a time current minus the start of that, and we'll change that to seconds. We know started at can't be null, right? So we can just do that. Have I set it? Yes, duration. And there we go, 232 seconds. you can see there's a couple problems here already. First of all, who cares? If I refresh, 240 seconds, blah, blah, blah. First of all, it doesn't look very nice. And second of all, if it's running, that's one thing. But if it's not running, it's not time current, is it? So let's say if it's running, we would do this. Otherwise, we want time current, no, we want ended at minus started at. And you say, well, what's running? So let's def something to say running. And what I would say is a status, slightly hacky, but status of running. Probably normally I would do a constant or something. So if it's running, we're going to show the duration. And that shouldn't change. And let's make it look better. Time track, helper. Time helper. There it is. Let's make something, well, I've done already. This answers your question, my faithful viewer, about how to show durations. And this, let's call this duration display. Let's pass in a time tracker. This is how you do it. Duration. It's so simple, you're going to kick yourself. Maybe it's you didn't know the word duration. Maybe that was your problem. Not being facetious. If you don't know that word, then you're not going to find this. There is actually something called active support duration. And we can put that in now that we've created, which takes a command of seconds. And now that we've created this duration, we can do that. And let's go to a console and I'll show you how this works. So let's get a time tracker last. So we've got that time tracker. We can see the duration is 395. Sorry, the colors on this suck. Can I change the colors? Grass. Well, anyway, it's not going to do it. So anyway, we can see the duration of seconds there. Now, if you use, it was stupid of me, I should have called it time tracker. Okay, so if we look at what active support duration will do, 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Done, right there. But I don't want to display it like that. So what you can say is parts. And it will return a hash of how many minutes, how many seconds, how many hours, how many days. I haven't tried to go longer than that, so I don't know if it does weeks, months, years. I'm not entirely sure. Ooh, let's find out. Time tracker update started at 4 weeks ago. Let's see what happens. 4 weeks and 3 seconds. Cool. When is 4 weeks ago? That's still within this. No, it's not. Anyway, so it's not going to say months. But there we go. Let's change this to 4 minutes ago, because otherwise it's going to look crazy. So we've got this parts, which is a hash, and I only want to use hours, minutes, and seconds. So what we can do is format that. And we use the funky Unix so this is a format string that says 2 digits, colon, 2 digits, colon, 2 digits, colon. And then you say duration hours, but which might not be there, so let's put in 0. And then just keep on going. And seconds. Oh my god. Seconds and minutes. So if we grab this, and you'll see here, it went 4 minutes and 50. Yeah, we need to change that to parts. So duration is like that, minutes and seconds. And if I format that, it's 05003. So we're just going to put duration display in that partial. Now, when we run this, it's going to, that's because I don't want to pass in just the duration. There it is, 5 minutes, 28 seconds, 5 minutes, 32 seconds. That's the essence of what that person's question was. Now, thank you for watching so far. Now let's get to the sexy stuff. Let's do, first of all, Stimulus to update this thing continuously, right? That's what we're here for. So, there's a couple of other things. I don't like this. Let's just clean this up first. So if the time tracker is running, else. If the time tracker is running, let's show, where is that form? Let's show the play icon. Otherwise, let's just show the stop icon. Get rid of the status. We can see that it's running. Actually, we can, and now we can use some. So it's green and it's running. And we can stop this. And now that we're here, time tracker, update, we know that we need to say ended at time current and a status of stopped. All right, so this thing isn't running anymore, and we can see that it's stopped. So let's first of all, I'm gonna have to now, because I don't have, it's not running anymore. Another thing, let's, my rate's gone up. We're gonna go back, and this one is now running. The other one is stopped. All right, let's get down to Stimulus here. What we want to do is, if the time tracker is running, we want to, well, we'll put that there too. No, we won't. We want to have a stimulus controller. So let's div this up. And a data controller of timer. And leave that for now. So let's get to Stimulus. Let's start stimulating. Let's create a new file, timer controller. I'm always lazy in copying the hello. And we can then console log connected timer controller. Make sure, let's close everything else here. Now, with just that, this should run. You know, we should see something here. It's going to webpack everything because I've created a controller. And there we are, connected timer controller. I mean, it's nice, doesn't do anything, but it is connected. So let's have the controller do something. Now, to do something, first of all, we need to know what to do. So let's create a static, this is neat, values. And so this kind of lets you set a bunch of different things inside of a stimulus controller. And we need to start, and I'm going to use a refresh interval just to show you how that works. So we've got these two things inside of values called start and refresh interval. Notice the camel casing here. We can pass those values like this. Data, timer. So we need the name of the controller. Then we need the name of the value. And then we need to say it's a value. And we're going to do this. And we will put in time tracker duration, which is the number of seconds. And because we're on using JavaScript, we're going to multiply it by 1,000 just because JavaScript's date function is in milliseconds. So we're going to do the start value like that. And then what was the other thing I said? It was the refresh interval. Now, instead of camel casing, we replace the camel with a dash and lowercase. And so we can say how often we want this to refresh. We're just going to do it by every. This is in milliseconds as well. So now, if we go over to the timer controller, let's just log these out so that you know I'm not lying to you. This dot start value. So you use, it's like 3 different places, 3 different nomenclatures to access the same value. Up here, it's in a hash called values with just start. Over here, we say start dash value. And then to actually access it, it's this start value camel case. I don't know what is going on over there with the stimulus guys, but and then refresh interval value. So we've got those 2 things logging out. Let's just refresh the page. It's going to have to rebuild. Did I remove something? I don't even know what this is. Time tracker 7. Wrong number of arguments given. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's fix that in a minute. Okay. Not a number because I'm not passing it. I mean, time tracker duration is a valid thing, right? Yeah. Okay, 349, 1000. Why that doesn't work, I don't know what's going on there. Anyway. There's the milliseconds. There's the refresh interval in milliseconds. Good to go. Passed in. So let's do something with those now. And I always like to create a separate method that does that. Let's move those down. White space. There we go. And start date. this new date. So we're going to create a new JavaScript date object from the start value. And again, just to show off, let's see what that actually looks like. And then if this has, that's the nice thing of using these static values here. So if it has a refresh interval value, then start refreshing. So because we're using this special values, we can check the presence of that. So is refresh there? Again, special way of using camel casing. So if there's a value in there, then let's start refreshing, and then we can say start refreshing. I don't know why it's in that drop-down list. It's not anything special. You can call it whatever you want. So then we're kind of doing standard JavaScript, really. Refresh timer, because we're going to do a set interval. And so we're kind of just doing some standard. We'll do another method here, draw the timer. And oh. Draw the timer. Yeah, like this. Refresh interval value. Nope, not has. There we go. Now, we need to do the draw the timer. Let's draw the timer. And what we're going to do is set this, the element inner HTML, to be another method. Holy cow, I'm method crazy. Seconds to time. This is something I stole from the internet. So let's take a look at that. And so we need to pass in the number of seconds. And the way we get the number of seconds, we want to say, what's the time right now in milliseconds, minus what was the start. And then because we're doing that, we want seconds in our thing, so we'll just divide it by 1,000. And then we want to seconds to time. And I'm going to paste this in and show you. I didn't write this, found it on Stack Interchange, Stack Overflow. So those are our seconds, and we're just going to grab out the hours, pad it to 2, grab out the minutes, grab out the seconds, and so we have exactly the same format like we had in the Ruby. So because I'm putting it in by default, I'm going to put the XX, and then what you should see is this thing now refreshing every second and figuring out the value. So let's refresh. It's going to build the controller again. And that, oops, and there you go. Now that's a bit messed up. So something is not totally right. I'm wondering about that. Oh, because it's not that at all, is it? It's not the duration. It's the start of that. When did it start? Proof is in the name. Start value is the start of that. Let's try that again. There we go. Ta-da. Okay, that is a working thing, the stimulus. That's all the stimulus we need. The reason we don't need to have a stop timer, like something to handle stopped values or whatever, is because we won't even call it. We will only show this stimulus controller if the thing is running. And when the thing is not running, we're just going to show the duration, and it's all fine. There's stimulus. This is getting a bit long, but I'm going to put in the Hotwire now. Okay? So that's where it gets a little bit funky. When we have Hotwire, a Turbo is a publish and subscribe. So we need to, when things happen to an object, we need to send those things out, and then something somewhere needs to listen to those things and act on them. So the first thing we should do is broadcast. I like to start at the broadcast. So if we say broadcasts to, create a proc, can do it. There's a few ways to do this. I'm just going to use this way because this is going to magically create methods for us that will send on all the CRUD actions, right? Create, update, and delete. And I'll explain this in 1 second. It's difficult enough for me to type, but to talk and type. All right, so what this is saying is we're going to broadcast this thing, and we're going to broadcast it on the channel of time trackers. And when we do an insert, let's put the insert at the top, and the target will be something called time trackers. So if we go to our controller console, I'm just going to grab the last time tracker. Now, if I say time tracker update topic to be updated by me, we will see there it's sending out the performing the turbo stream action broadcast, and it's actually going to use that partial. If we find it in here, there it is. Div class column row padding of 2 column 9. That's my partial. It's rendering on the server the partial and sending that out. That's all we need to do on the back end. What we now need to do is look on the front end and have the front end listen to a bunch of different things. For instance, turbo stream from time trackers. That will start this page listening. So we're just going to put that on for now, and we'll take a look at the source here. And we now have the turbo stream channel thing, so it's listening on to some encrypted stream. And what we want it to do is when things change, turbo frame tag time trackers do no end. So there's the form. Inside of another time trackers thing, which we can see there, a turbo frame has been created called time trackers, and inside of those are going to be the time trackers. So now, no, it won't work yet because we need to do the form. So let's find the form, and we need to wrap the form inside of a turbo frame tag as well. Now, if you remember, turbo frames are kind of like a time tracker. Form, this name doesn't matter. And format that. So now the form here is also inside of a turbo thing. So it knows turbo now will capture everything that happens there. And turbocharging up to 7 Bitcoins an hour. If I click this, what should happen is that it will show up here automatically. And it did. We didn't have any refresh or load. Now, a slight problem. The order is a bit weird, and that's because in my controller, I'm not getting things in reverse order here. So let's reverse that. So everything should be reverse. And what else do we need to do? Well, we don't have any way of stopping the timer. So let's add another turbo form. And this time we're going to add it on these icons here. So let's go over there. Let's close the other things. See, again, we didn't have to change the controller at all to get that turbo working. So now if the timer is running, let's do a form with time tracker. No, model time tracker. Do. So I'm going to put a little form here to handle the submitting. And we'll add a form hidden field of status and a value of stopped. And then we'll do the same thing like I did on the form. We're going to take a form button and put that play icon. Oops. It's not quite right, is it? Because if you want what you want to do, if it's running, you kind of want to stop it. So we can make this. Maybe we don't need anything when it's play after it's done. Stop. I wonder if there's a stop sign. But anyway, I'm going to change those around. Screwed up something there. I think I need another end. There. So now these are buttons. Doesn't look great, but whatever. So these, when we click on them, should stop. But you'll see the problem in a second. I'll do one and you'll see why it's not great. Yeah, didn't work because there's just not enough. Oof. Updated status of stopped. It changed the status, but yeah, it's getting all kinds of other funky stuff because the rendering of this partial failed. I'm not showing errors, and that's why so we're not seeing it. And the reason the rendering failed is because I set the status of stopped, but I didn't. There's no end time. So for me, the easiest thing is to do a before update. Let's set the end of that. And we can do that. We'll check that inside. So let's def a set ended at, and we'll say self ended at equals time current if the status is stopped, and we haven't set the ended at yet. So what this is going to do is when we go to, every time we update, it's going to say, okay, is the thing stopped? Yes. And has it ended at been set? No, it hasn't. So let's set it, and then it'll save. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change that. Which one was that? ID of 3. So let's grab that one. TT of a time tracker. Find 3, and let's update that to be status of running, just so I can get it go back in on the display properly. So things still running. Now what'll happen, let's go over here. Now we click the stopped, and did that work? Yes. Things didn't update, and it got all messy because there's one thing missing for hot wiring, and that is this doesn't know about Hotwire. So it can't update. It doesn't know what to do with the updating. So we need another turbo frame tag here with the DOM ID of the time tracker. That should work better. There we go. So now when you stop it, it knows what row to do, and it stops that automatically. You can tell I was a little nervous there if it wasn't going to work. Okay. I think pretty much everything there. I've done it in pretty much an hour. So what do we have? Let's do a quick little recap here. We created a new Rails app. We installed Hotwire, Stimulus, Bootstrap 5, Font Awesome. What else did we install? We installed lots of stuff. And that was weird. Yep, we installed all of that. We created our simple application to track time. And we then we added Stimulus to automatically update the timer. I'm going to just add another one here to automatically update the timer. We added Hotwire to let us do everything as a kind of single page application. We don't have to go to any other pages, and we can stop things and add things dynamically. So there we go. That's the basics of it. It doesn't do everything, and there are some issues, and I think these are issues with Hotwire. You will see that there's some errors in the console, but hopefully, I think, Hotwire is an ever-changing thing, obviously, so that'll get fixed soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. A bit of a long one. I hope this helps you. I'm going to try and bookmark this so you can jump around, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.